Hello, everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss various management approaches, such as the classical, behavioral systems, contingency, and the quantitative management approach. Now, you do need to remember that the choice of management approach depends on the organizational nature, external environment, and goals. The classical approach to management focuses more on efficiency, structure, and task specialization. So, this approach is rooted in the principles of the classical management theories that we discussed in the previous video. And it's particularly suited to stable environments where tasks are routine and efficiency is essential. And the classical approach has four components to it. The first one being division of labor. And in the classical approach, division of labor is emphasized because dividing work into smaller and specialized tasks is believed to produce higher productivity and efficiency. Each worker focuses on a specific task or role, allowing them to become more skilled and efficient in that area. Example, in a government office responsible for processing permits, one group of employees might handle the intake of applications, another group might conduct inspections, and yet another group might process approvals. By dividing labor in this way, the office can process permits more quickly and with fewer errors. We have also the hierarchy and chain of command. Now, the classical approach advocates for a clear hierarchical structure where each level of management has authority over the levels below it. The chain of command ensures that decisions and instructions flow smoothly from top management to frontline workers. Example, the chain of command might start with the department head, followed by division managers, and then supervisors who oversee the work of the frontline employees. And this structure helps maintain order and clarity in decision making. Third, we have centralization of authority. Decision making authority is typically concentrated at the top levels of management in the classical approach. This allows for consistent and uniform decisions across the organization. Example, in a city's public works department, key decisions about budget allocation, project prioritization, and policy implementation might be made by the top management, and this ensures that all projects align with the city's strategic goals. Last, we have standardized procedures. The classical approach relies on established procedures and rules to guide the tasks and decision making. This standardization reduces ambiguity, and it also ensures consistency in how tasks are performed. So, a city clerk's office, for example, might have standardized procedures for issuing marriage licenses and other types of certifications. These procedures ensure that all applicants go through the same steps and thereby providing a good amount of consistency and fairness when catering to the different clients of the office. The next approach is the behavioral approach to management, and this emphasizes understanding and addressing the human side of organizations. It focuses more on people. Their motivations and their behavior within the workplace. And it recognizes that these factors significantly influence organizational effectiveness. So, one of the key components of the behavioral approach is human relations, and this emphasizes the importance of interpersonal relationships in the workplace. It suggests that good relationships between managers and employees can lead to higher job satisfaction and productivity. So, example, a manager might take the time to get to know their employees, understand their concerns, and even foster a positive and a supportive work environment. This, in turn, will also have an impact on how the employees are feeling, the kind of environment that they have to work in, and it leads to improved morale and a more collaborative atmosphere at work. And of course, this results also to better service to the public. Next, we have motivation and needs. And this approach considers that employees are motivated by a variety of needs, not just by money or not just by financial incentives or their salaries, for instance. Understanding these needs can help managers create a work environment that encourages high performance. So, example, a social services department might implement programs that address employees' needs for professional development and recognition, yeah, such as offering training opportunities or an Employee of the Month award. All these are non financial incentives that could truly boost the motivation, right, and the morale of the employees. The approach also recognizes the impact of group behavior on individual performance. So it suggests that the managers should pay attention also to how teams work within, the group dynamics, such as how cohesive they are, how united they are, their communication patterns, and also the leadership roles or those who fill the leadership roles within these groups, right? Next would be the participative management, and this involves employees, uh, making sure that employees are part of the decision making processes and thus increasing their commitment to the organizational goals and improving also the quality of decisions. The third kind of approach is the systems approach. And in this approach, we view an organization as a complex system of interrelated and interdependent parts, right? So it emphasizes the need to understand the organization as a whole, not just focusing on individual components. In isolation, you are also to study the parts, but more importantly, look also at how all the parts come together, work together to produce the entire organization and its processes and how it operates basically as a whole on a daily basis. The thing about systems approach is that it takes a holistic view. And again, this means that it considers the entire organization and how its different parts interact. So this approach suggests that managers should understand how decisions in one area can affect the entire organization. Another key component is subsystems, and an organization is seen as composed of various parts or basically subsystems, such as departments, teams, or even processes. And all these subsystems, they must work together to achieve the organization's goals. So, example, in a hospital, subsystems might include medical departments, administrative services, and patient support services. The systems approach would ensure that these subsystems are well coordinated to provide high quality patient care. The next is open systems. And from this, we mean that organizations are often viewed as open systems that interact with their external environment. This means that managers must consider external factors such as economic conditions, regulations, and technological changes in their decision making. And last, we have the feedback mechanism. The systems approach emphasizes the importance of feedback loops, where information is gathered from the environment or within the organization to inform decision making and adjustments. The next approach is the contingency approach. And this one suggests that there is no one size fits all method for managing organizations. Okay. There is not one approach that is to be recommended and ought to be followed by all organizations, and not even all organizations, but also in all kinds of situations. The idea here is that the best approach to management depends on different situational factors such as the environment, the kind of task that is at hand, the characteristics also of the workforce or people who work with you as, as employees and colleagues. The components of the contingency approach include environmental fit, and this emphasizes the need to align management practices with the external environment. So, factors such as market conditions, competition, and regulatory requirements should influence how an organization is managed. Example: a public health department might take on different strategies depending on whether it is dealing with a stable environment, like routine immunizations. Okay, that's an example of stable environment. Or a crisis situation, such as the outbreak of a contagious disease, like the mpox, for example. The next component is task fit. And this one suggests that the management style should be suited to the specific task at hand. So, routine tasks may need a more structured approach because they're simply repetitive, while complex and non routine tasks or new tasks might benefit from a more flexible and innovative approach to management. So, example, in a public works department, routine maintenance tasks might be managed with a more strict schedule and clear procedures, right? But a complex infrastructure project might require more collaborative planning and problem solving, depending on how complex and the challenges that is met by this project. And the third one is leadership fit. And this means that different leadership styles are effective in different kinds of situations. So, managers are encouraged to adapt their leadership style to the needs of the situation and the team. And the last one is organizational structure fit. This one suggests that the structure of the organization should adapt to fit the organization's needs. For example, a highly bureaucratic structure might work well in a stable, predictable environment, but a more flexible, decentralized structure might be needed in a dynamic and changing environment. So, example, a local government office might need to reorganize its structure when transitioning from routine operations to handling a large scale public event. For example, the citywide festival or the upcoming city fiesta, for example, because the nature of these tasks is that they require a more flexible and responsive approach that is also more current and updated with the challenges that exist in the external environment. And lastly is the quantitative approach to management. And this one uses, from the word quantitative, it uses mathematical models, statistics, and algorithms to help solve problems and improve the decision making. It is particularly effective in areas such as operations management, logistics, and finance, just because the nature also of these subsystems and the tasks and the processes that are involved in these subsystems tend to also be very quantitative in nature. Operations research involves using mathematical models to analyze complex situations and make better decisions. It optimizes different aspects of an organization, such as resource allocation, scheduling, and logistics. So, example, the city's public transportation system, it can use operations research to optimize bus routes and in order to cut back on the travel time and operational costs while still maximizing the service coverage that it offers commuters. Statistical analysis involves collecting and analyzing data to identify trends, make forecasts, and even inform decisions. So, statistical tools can help managers be able to spot and understand patterns and correlations just by looking at the data. So, example, the again, a public health department might use statistical analysis to track the spread of diseases, and even identify populations that are at a higher risk of contracting the disease. And from there, be able to allocate the necessary resources for these at risk populations and hence be able to manage the resources more effectively. The decision theory involves using quantitative techniques to evaluate different decision options and choose the best course of action based on the potential outcomes and risks. So, you may want to use this to be able to identify a more rational solution to your problem. You can use statistical and mathematical um, basically resources to help you identify that. So, an example of this would be the city's emergency management team. They can use the decision theory to assess risks and benefits of different evacuation strategies during a natural disaster like flood, for example, or like fire, right? And this allows them to choose the option that minimizes harm to the residents. Okay, and the last one is simulation models, and it involves creating digital models of real world processes that will help test different scenarios and even predict outcomes. And so the simulation models allow managers to experiment with different strategies without taking risks in the real world. A local government might use simulation models to plan the deployment of emergency services during a major event. And this allows them to test different strategies and identify the most effective approach before the actual event occurs.